Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this yogasana practice this evening. And today we'll be doing a sense of a modified moon salutation, beginning with our seated meditation, as we can begin to bring our awareness into the room, into our bodies. Notice where we are, who we are, how it feels to take a breath of air, how it feels to sit on the earth. One of the Buddha's meditations, as he was giving instructions to his son on how to meditate, his first instruction is, try to make your mind like the earth. The earth is unreactive to anything that you throw at it, anything that you do to it. It's the earth. It's there, it's solid and constant. Try to be solid as the earth. Try to make your mind like the wind. The wind blows everything everywhere. It blows trash around it. It's not disgusted by the trash. It just does what it does. It's non-reactive. It does its thing. You can make the mind like water. The water can clean the dirt from the rag. And it's not grossed out by the dirt. It just does what it does. Make the mind like fire. The fire can burn the garbage. It can burn the tension and anything that we have within us, but the fire is not angry at the trash that it burns. The fire just burns. So we can take this visualization of these properties of mind and take the essence of them is learning to be non-reactive to the things around us. In the sense that when we meditate, we're focusing on what's really the source of our actions. Not the actions themselves, but what causes us to make these actions. You want to be sensitive and become more sensitive and tuned into your own power to act, to move the body into the form, fulfill any given pose or posture throughout our yoga practice, or any action that we may find throughout our whole life. It's within our power to choose what it is that we do and not just blindly be reactive to a lot of the emotions that may be flowing within us. There's a tendency to have a physical reaction to emotional stimuli. There's a tendency to have very emotional reactions to any physical troubles or cravings or stimuli. When we learn to bring the mind and the body together as one, we can act in one motion with the mind and the body both totally present, with the intention of that action. That is the foundation of our mindfulness. When we practice our yoga, that's what we're building our practice towards. It's that unification of the body and the mind's mental image of the body. The intention for a pose, and how we see it in our brains, and then the pose that our body fulfills. Trying to bring those closer and closer to one another. With every motion, every breath, every time that we practice together. hands to our heart. Let's bring our intention into the room. Begin with an Om together. You can sing along with me. You take a deep in breath. Begin to open our eyes. We're going to start the Bodhi Konasana to open our hips. So we can place the soles of our feet and our little toes together. We lift up through the top of the head, finding a straight back, open the hips, letting your wings flutter a little bit, and letting them bounce to a pause, seeing where they lay, lifting up with our heart, and bowing heart first towards the feet. Not pushing too far, just finding where the hips open up to, and exhaling to release any tension in that part of the body. Inhaling back up to center. Lifting up tall. Sitting with a flat back. And this time bowing with our nose to the toes. Curving the back, lengthening the spine as we bow, bringing our sit bones further behind us. We want to warm up our hips. Get back up to sit tall. Push our knees together. Find a kneeling position. Our hips over our knees, shoulders over hips. Kneeling tall. Bring our hands overhead. Bring the right hand to your right hip behind your back. The left hand reaches out to the right as you hollow out the left armpit, keeping that shoulder blade on the back and behind the ear. Releasing the neck. And exhale back to center. Flipping to the other side, the left hand to the right hip. And exhaling up to the left. Letting the blood flow to the side body as we open up. Inhaling back to center. Let's take the left hand and grab just above the right ear as the right hand grabs the left hip. Exhale as we fold to the left, releasing that side of the neck. Lifting back to center. The right hand just above the left ear. Exhaling as we release the tension on the left side of the neck. Inhaling back up to center. We're going to place our hands on the mat in front of us. We're going to start with our bird dog as we warm up the hip and the shoulder, bring the left foot behind us and the right arm overhead. Trying to create as much distance between that heel and the fingers above you. And then we're going to exhale, bringing the knee to the elbow. Trying to get as much height on that knee and the elbow as we can. Lifting up through the core. And exhaling as we lengthen. This time you're going to bring your left knee to the left arm, to the tricep, and the right knee to the right leg. Feeling how that feels a little bit different. Testing our balance a little bit, warming up the core. As we exhale, that left foot behind us, the right hand overhead. And bring them down into our tabletop. Swaying side to side. Loosen it up before we bring the right foot behind us, the left hand overhead. Trying to expand our full distance. And exhaling the left elbow to the right knee. Put as much height as you can, pushing your right hand away from you as you lift the knee and the elbow. Exhaling out long, tall. Bring the left elbow to the left leg, the right knee to the right tricep. And see how high you can get that knee onto that arm. And tuck it in, try to keep the right side body in this tight little ball. Exhaling out long. Bring our hands down. Pushing up into our downward facing dog. Or Urdhva Svanasana. Pedaling out to our feet. We're going to walk our feet to our hands. The arms, the neck dangle. And then hinging from the hips as we rise up, growing tall. Bring our hands to our hearts. We're going to step to the center of the mat. Long ways on the mat. So you face me. Begin our Chandra Namaskar. Noticing the rhythm of our breathing and moving with every inhale to rise. Grabbing the outside of the right hand and exhaling off to the left. Inhaling back up to center. Testing our left tippy toes onto the left and exhaling off to the left. Moving the same direction as the foot. Inhaling back up to center as we test our weight on the right foot, lifting that left foot up and out to the left. Exhaling out to the left in that same direction, opening up the side body and the shoulder onto the back. Inhaling back up to center, looking up and flipping our grip. The right hand grabs the outside of the left, fold to the right. Moving the shoulder onto the back behind the ear, lifting up from the side body as we open up tall. Testing our weight on the right foot out, the tippy toes out to our right. As we exhale into that direction, inhaling back up to center and testing our balance. Being mindful of every little motion as we lift that heel as high as it'll go to the right. And exhale as we fold to the right. Lifting ourselves back up to center. We're going to take a chair pose as we squat our feet about hip distance apart. Our chair here, keeping those shoulder blades onto the back. Giving our hips a little bounce. Let's bring our hands to our heart. We're going to add our twist. The right hand to the right thigh. The left elbow crosses over. We exhale into the twist. Inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to twist, and then inhaling back to center, balancing our hips, opening our heart, keeping those shoulder blades. There we go. And then the left hand to the left thigh, the right elbow crosses over, hands into prayer. Exhale to twist. Inhale to lengthen the spine. And exhale to twist. Coming back to center, bouncing our hips. Let's lift our weight onto the left foot as we test our balance on the right. Trying a standing balance. And then squatting into that left leg as you bring the right knee behind the left. Squatting Shiva. Testing the balance. And stepping that right foot back. Testing our weight onto the right foot as we find our balance on the left. Bring the left knee behind the right. And back to center. Bring our feet a little bit wider apart, maybe twice our hip distance as we bounce in our wide-legged chair. Letting our hips grow very low. And lifting up into our star pose. Expanding in all directions as we grow. So we're isometrically pushing the feet away from one another here. And then by contrast, we pull the feet together into our goddess squat. Opening the heart, squatting a little bit deeper. Lifting ourselves back up into the star. Utthita Tadasana. And widen our feet a little bit more. As we bring our hands to our hips. And keeping a flat back, we can bow. Making sure to bring the hips behind us. And our hands down to the mat. Prasarta Padatadasana. You can widen your legs a little bit more if that helps you. While you're isometrically squeezing your feet together from the outsides of the feet. You can inhale to look up. And exhale to bow. Testing our weight on our hands. Seeing if we can press as much weight behind our knuckles as we're holding on our feet. Walking our hands over to the left, frame the left foot. Breathing into the right kidney, keeping those hips square, same as they are when they're centered. And our hands are between the heels. Let's walk our hands back to center. Notice where the hips are and keep them exactly where they are as we bring our hands to frame the right foot. As we hollow out that left armpit and wiggle those fingers forwards. Let's spin that right foot forwards. Bend into that knee. Windmill up into our warrior two. Keeping the knee just above the heel as we open the heart. Expand our wingspan. Finding our rhythm of our breathing. As we flip the palm. Reach up and reach for the wall behind us. Bring our left hand palm up. by the right hip. Stacking those shoulders on top of one another. And exhaling out into our warrior two. Bending the elbow, finding our side angle pose with the palm up. Keep this in a straight line here, from the back heel, up through the side body, and out through the fingers. Squeezing the outside of that back foot forwards. Exhaling out into our warrior two. Let's bring our hands down to frame that front foot. Coming out of the back toes. And bringing that back knee down to the mat for Anjaneyasana, the low lunge. Squaring our hips. Shoulders onto the back. Inhaling to rise. And exhaling to bow. We're going to walk our hands back as we straighten the front knee. And Ardha Hanumanasana, half split, working on that front hamstring as we bow into the hips and hammies. Bring our hands to the inside of the leg. Walk them forwards, coming out to our forearms, our lizard lunge. Letting that hip open. Letting yourself grow still. See if you can isometrically pull the thigh and the knee into the side body and squeeze it in as this tight little ball. And just see how that feels using the leg muscles to pull them into the upper tricep and shoulder. Let's come up onto our hands. Spin our feet parallel to the top edge of the mat. Find Skandasana, the tiger pose. You can always do this one on your knee if that's better for some of you. Finding our squat here. Keeping our heart open. Bring our hands down to the mat. Just see if you can lift that far foot up for just a moment. Keep your balance. The trick is keeping your weight forwards behind the knuckles as we do. Very good. Bring our hands down to the mat and step or hop into our Malasana. Feeling how the leg comes to the shoulder. Feel how that feels to kind of open our arms and cactus arms, opening those hips to our sides, with the knees on the outsides of the shoulder. Squatting as low as we can. Let's bring the right arm around for the bind, and the left hand can reach behind the left side body to find the right. Exhale into our twist. Inhale back to center. Meeting our hands in our prayer. Squeezing those legs together. Bringing that left shoulder up to the inside of the leg. Seeing open our arms and cactus arms. That opens both hips. Then the left arm comes around for the bind. Right hand around the back. As we look up and open the shoulder onto the back muscles. Inhale back to center. Hands at our heart. Open heart, open mind. As we place our hands onto the mat. Place our weight onto our hands. See if we can lift that right foot off the mat. Step that right foot back into our Skandasana. Be adjusting on the mat as you need to. Finding the right length of your pose. And that knee and inside of the arm. You gotta push your weight forwards quite a bit to hold your balance.
Does your left foot flat?
It doesn't have to be.
I know.
It doesn't
That's
always
the part
work.
that makes you fall back. I fall back.
Yeah.
I know.
You really gotta lean forwards if you want a flat foot.
Okay. Is that the idea to have flat?
Yes, that's. If you're all the same balance, the flat foot is definitely the challenge. Let's place our weight into our hands and come up onto the toe and see if we can lift that far foot off the mat and set it down. Trying our leg lifts, even the intention to lift the leg can be just as good. If you're on your knee here, that's the same action for some of us. Very good. And then we'll bring our hands to the back of our mat, and the inside of the foot. Find our lizard lunge here. We're evening out our hips. And that left leg tight to the side body. Exhaling our hips closer to the mat with every breath. Finding our solid stability here. And coming back onto our hands. Walking our hands back to the back knee as we straighten the front leg. Finding our Ardha Hanumanasana for half splits. Lifting our toe and bowing into the hamstring. Bringing that front foot down to the mat, bending into the knee just over heel as we lift up for our low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Inhaling up to rise. Opening our heart, shoulders in the back, hips square. And to be stable, finding yourself solid as the earth. And then exhaling to bow. Lifting that back knee off of the mat, spinning that back foot perpendicular, and lifting up to our warrior two. So this time we're facing the back of our mat. As we open the heart, expand our arms in the full wingspan, pulling the outside of that back foot in. As we flip our front palm and reach up for the wall behind us. With the right palm open in front of us. We can windmill our arms out into the warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Bending the elbow, palm up, reaching that right hand over the side body, our side angle. squeezing those feet together, using that for our stability as we open ourselves up into our warrior two. And wiggle down to frame that front foot. Bowing into the hip. This time, bring that back knee down to the mat. Open our heart up. And bind our hands behind our back. Feeling the shoulder blades engage, pull lower under the back. Tucking our toe behind us as we lift that foot up. And bring the heel down. And bow into the humble warrior. Baddha Virabhadrasana, the bound friendly warrior. You try to square your shoulders, keeping them in line with one another. And then open up as we stand tall. Bending our knee just over the heel. We're going to bow our heart just over the foot. See if we can bring that back foot up into the bound warrior three. Lifting that heel as high as you can get it. Stepping back as we release the bind. Bringing our hands down to the inside of the foot as we bring that back knee down to the mat. Come onto our forearms in the lizard lunge. Bringing our shoulder underneath the inside of the leg and reaching the left arm underneath the left leg, finding our bind here. If you only get one arm there, that's very well. The goal is to get the left shoulder underneath the left leg. Feel how that is to squeeze the left leg into the left side. We bring our hands out, release the bind. Straighten that leg as we release any tension in the left leg. Walking our hands forwards, bending in the knee, finding our crouching tiger. The closer you can get that knee onto the inside of the shoulder, the more you can lean forwards. There you go. Very good. This time we'll bind our hands around this leg. Try to keep your heart open and look up. Keeping that leg on the shoulder as we bring our hands down to the mat. That right foot comes down to the mat. See if you can lift your left foot off of the mat. Setting it back down. Stepping into our Malasana squat. Opening the heart. Legs on the inside of the triceps. So we'll bring our hands down to the mat. Come onto our toes. See if you can just lift one leg and then the other. A little dancing bakasana. And then lift your left leg and bring it long, finding our crouching tiger. Finding your place in your pose. You can always do this one on the knee. We'll find our bind. As we look up, feeling the shoulder open up. Using the core to keep yourself stable. And exhaling as we release the hands to our heart first, and then to the mat. Seeing if we can lift that right foot up to the glute. It helps to keep that leg, squeezing it inwards to the arm. And then we're going to set that down, walking our hands forwards. Back knee comes down to the mat. Finding our Anjaneyasana. The knee just above the heel. Squaring our hips. Finding our stability here. And we feel stable with our feet from the ground. We're going to bring our hands down to the inside of the foot. And find any variation of the lizard that works for your practice. If you tried the bind on the other side, you can thread the right hand underneath the right leg. Let's see if you can find that here. Very good. See if you can keep your shoulders so your heart is parallel to the mat. Yes. And when that leg feels even to the other, we'll release the bind. Back onto our hands. And take our Ardha Hanumanasana. Release and lengthen that leg. Pointing the toe and bowing into the hamstring. Squaring our hips. Bringing that foot flat to the mat. And lifting up into our warrior one. Want that back toes angled a little bit forwards. Maybe hip distance apart. So we're not tight roping. We're going to bind our fingers behind our back. Find our bound warrior. The humble warrior, squaring the shoulders to the front edge of the mat, squeezing the feet together. Feeling that shoulder and the leg squeezing to the shoulder, and the shoulder opening that leg, and then using our core to lift ourselves. Keeping the bind, we look with that back knee down to the mat. Our bound Anjaneyasana. Opening the heart as we reach for the floor beneath us, behind us. Inhaling with our hands to our heart. We're going to bring our hands to the mat as we lift that left foot up and off of the mat. Testing our standing splits or our warrior three. We got into it with a bind on the other side, so if you'd like the challenge, see if you can bind your hands behind your back. Open your heart, lift your heel behind you, square your shoulders, and look up. Testing your balance. And releasing, bring that back foot back. We're going to spin both of our feet forwards. Finding our star. As we expand in all directions. Open the heart. Lengthen the spine. Bending our knees. Finding our goddess squat. And then hinging from the hips We're gonna bow. Straighten your legs as we bring our head closer to the mat, bringing our weight forwards onto our hands. And bringing our tailbone up behind us. We can flip our fingers to point behind us and walk them as far back as they will go. Back to center. Straightening those legs. Looking up onto our fingertips. And exhaling to bow. Let's bring our hands, walking them back until the shoulders come to the inside of the legs as we bend our legs. Finding a little bit of a squat here, preparing for Titivasana, the Firefly pose. Testing our weight as we lift one foot and then the other. One foot at a time. Feeling how it feels to hold your weight forwards. You put your weight using your fingers and your knuckles. Push into the mat as you lean forward. And pushing our weight back onto our feet. Lengthening our legs. Letting the neck dangle. We're going to rise up tall. Finding our star. Wiggling our feet a little bit closer together this time. Starting from our expansive Uttita Tadasana. Bending the knees, bringing the shoulders onto the back. Our goddess squat, letting our hips bounce. And dip. Bringing them as low as they comfortably go. Bring our hands down to the inside of our feet. Find any variation of the preparation that works for you. Walking our fingers behind us. You can either stay in a Prasartapatadasana, play with our Ardha Titivasana, or you can try to lift both feet. When you're ready, you can meet me at a seat. With our hips open. Taking a moment in our Uttanasana, feeling how much more open our hips have become. So I wanted to talk to you today about our crow pose. Crow pose has been, it's one of those poses that people think is about strength. And some of these arm balances we've been playing with are very much about strength. But crow pose is an arm balance. It's more about balance and core than it is arm strength. So now that our hips are open enough and we know how it feels to bring those knees to the insides of our shoulders. Let's see how this feels if we bring our elbows to the mat in front of us when we bow. Squeeze the knees to the inside of the triceps. Then bring our hands down to the mat. And keep your toes together and lift the heels as you pull your heart forwards. And this is basically our crow pose, except we're seated.
Yeah, except you're sitting.
But if you find your balance in our crow pose, and it's more about opening the hips enough to be able to get those legs onto the insides of the triceps and squeezing them in, do you feel like you're using a lot of your leg muscles and your core muscles to find this pose? That's what we need in our crow pose. When we're not doing that, we're putting all of the effort into our arms. And so if we find our Malasana squat, having our feet a little closer than hip distance, your feet together, so your toes are pointing together, almost like a pizza slice. We can open our heart, bring our hands to the mat as we come up onto our toes. And the other trick for our crow pose is putting our weight forwards enough so that our teeter-totter is balanced. Very good. Very, very stable. Beautiful. You see what I'm saying when it's more about once you find the posture in balance, you're not muscling into it as much as you're finding, where the hips like to lay so that your weight is just evenly distributed.
Yeah, it's not like a pose that hurts your muscles so
Right.
much when you're just like there.
Yeah, did you get it?
Oh, this is cozy. Just getting there.
It's more of a hip opener than anything else, which is why it's great after a moon salutation, after we've been opening our hips. We want any last trials, and then we'll cradle our feet. Our hips should feel very open at this point in our practice. And so I think it'd be fun to try our half lotus pose. If you can put the heel to the inside of the hip and set it down, feel how that feels. Pointing our toe to try to protect the knee. Lifting up. Sitting with a flat spine. And we can bow, bringing the sit bones behind us. Bow only as far as is comfortable. And slowly use your core to lift yourself back up. And when you do, find the place where your core muscles and your back muscles are equally balanced so that your spine is stacked. A pile of stones, where you feel like you can sit almost effortlessly with the back and the spine, even though our hips are feeling very open at the moment. And we'll lift this foot, cradle it one more time. We try our other side. There's also a tendency to want to always meditate with the same leg on top. And as good yogis, we know that we need to be symmetric. So let's point our toe and place this left heel to the inside of the right hip. Don't worry about getting that knee to the mat. It's okay if it floats a little bit. Sit up tall, bring our sit bones behind us. Our hand to our heart. And bow. Coming up to our seat. Slowly rising until you find this place where the back and the core are equally balanced. And we'll cradle this foot. Do you have any takers for a full lotus practice?
I don't know what that means. But
So full lotus
maybe.
would be. So take the right leg, place this into our half lotus, keeping the left leg a little further out, so that the knee comes the foot. Now we cradle this left foot and bring it to the inside of the right. This is our focus, keeping those toes pointed. And squeezing so the heels are coming closer to the hips. Feeling how our sit bones become flat. Notice how effortless it can be to sit here. Another fun practice with our lotus is we can bring our hands to the sides of our hips. Pick it up.
And boop.
Let's see if you can hold for 30 seconds. There's a 30-second hold for this in the Ashtanga series. And we'll bow before we release. Lifting up tall, cradling our feet. And we're going to find our cow face pose. Bring that right heel to the left hip and the left heel to the right hip. Bring our hands out long. The left hand behind the head. The right hand behind the back, opening our heart, keeping a flat back as we bow. And lifting tall, releasing our bind, should release any tension in the shoulders, even out for our other side. Flipping our feet, the left heel to the left hip, the right heel to the right hip. Sitting tall. Hands long, the right hand behind the head, the left hand behind the back. Finding our bind. Breathing our heart open. And exhaling into our bow. Coming back up tall. Sit. Release our hands. Release our feet. Coming, spinning ways onto our mat. So bring our hands, our feet come from hands to our sides. Finding our Dandasana. Begin with our forward fold, bring our hands to our toes. Keeping our hips behind us. Bringing our heart to the toes. Exhaling out the center, our hands to our side. There's another optional bob. And then we'll bring the right foot to the inside. Find our side body openers. The right hand behind us and above us. Look underneath the armpit. As that right hand reaches for those toes. And that side body open up and release as we breathe into the kidney. Lifting ourselves back up to center. Squaring our heart. Flipping our feet. Right hand to the outside of the right foot. And the left hand
Trying to keep those shoulders stacked so that way the left shoulder is just on top of the right. Taking some deep breaths into that left kidney, releasing anything from the left hip and side body here. Lifting up the center. Let's find ourselves a happy baby. So we grab the outsides of the feet, move the tailbone down, bring the knees to the outside, and rock side to side. We can bring our hands to the sides of our hips as we bring our knees to the outsides of our ears for hide the ears pose. And the hands can come to the lower back as we release the lower neck and the upper back. And vertebrae by vertebrae, rolling yourself down into our Shavasana. Testing each part of the spine. Closing our eyes for our Shavasana. Settle in. Finding our stillness. Taking in the steadiness of the earth beneath you. Take a moment to scan the body from the top of the head down through the neck, releasing any tensions that you come across. Breathing into each section of the body, feeling what it feels like, listening to what your body is telling you, piece by piece. Bring your awareness down through your fingertips, down your legs, through your toes. Noticing each part of the front body, taking a breath into your core. Feeling how every breath of air allows you to grow stronger, more flexible, more capable, growing deeper into this practice. Begin to wiggle our fingers and our toes. Bend our knees into the chest. Giving yourself a hug as we rock from side to side. Rolling
onto the right side body, using the arm as a pillow. And pushing yourself up to a seat. Your hands at your heart, your eyes closed. You should be proud of yourselves for taking this time to take care of you. I'm so grateful to each of you for joining us in this practice today. The love and light in me honors the love and light in you. Namaste.